So I'll start by talking about a quote I read somewhere, probably on Instagram, again. Recently I talked to someone, to Ty. I said zebra and Z as opposed to zebra and Z. Is that the right way to say it? I don't know. Who cares? You are traffic is a quote, which is a much more profound quote than it sounds like. Because you are traffic means when you're stuck in traffic, you're not stuck in traffic. You are the traffic, right? That's an obvious fact, which, oh yeah, my glasses are, don't know if you can see, probably can't see, I can see. They're covered in raindrops. When you're in traffic, oh yeah, the previous weeks I haven't been as energetic, projecting my voice and shit. Where's my, come here, little guy? Yeah. So you are traffic, I think, is a very beautiful quote, because when you're stuck in traffic, most people do get upset when they're stuck in traffic. I know I do. It's pushing on my buttons, and all I'm doing is I'm looking outwards at the cunts who are the traffic and who are blocking me and making me upset. Now they're not making me upset, I'm making myself upset. And I am the traffic, I'm part of the traffic. And it's the same with everything, right? As, how do you call it? I always say hippie-ish. What's the term? As philosophical and spiritual bullshit as that sounds, you are the universe. You are everything. Since the world around you is filtered through your perception, and since you are part of said world, you are the traffic means much more than you are the traffic. In any situation you find yourself in, you are that situation. You're part of that situation, and you're in fact in control of how you react to that situation and how you feel about that situation. So, going back to the example of traffic, which I get stuck in traffic all the time when I go to work. I take the bus. I'm a brokey, I don't have a car. But very often there's traffic problems. And the ability to just take a step back and realize that you are the traffic, just this ability to take the step back and think that, then you can just relax and calm down. This ability to step outside of yourself and look at yourself and realize, oh, I am the traffic. I am the traffic. Why am I getting angry at these outside things? Why am I getting angry anyways, right? When you step outside of yourself, in any situation, especially when the emotions are high, when you're angry, when you step outside, you immediately realize, why am I angry? That's stupid, right? And so I think you are traffic is a good idea to keep in your mind. And by the way, all these episodes, I'm talking philosophical stuff and asking these questions and blah, blah, blah. My goal here is not in any way to be a quote-unquote teacher or to see myself as a teacher. I watch my podcasts and I analyze them and I think, something's missing here. Sometimes I disagree. So that's another thing I want to talk about. But this is just me. That's what philosophy is asking questions. So I'm just asking questions. And I think this idea of you are traffic is very powerful. Stepping outside of yourself and realizing I don't have to react in any specific way to the situation. I don't have to. And I'm pretty sure that tied into something else. But I'm not sure what. Okay, that ties into... So I was mentioning about me watching my podcast and also mentioning anger. I might have anger issues to a degree. But usually when I get angry, my technique, the way I deal with it is I just talk to myself in my head about the situation. I tell myself, ooh, should have done this, should have done that. Ooh, I'll do this, I'll do that. Ooh, what if they say this? Blah, blah, blah. Just going crazy, overthinking. And the other day, my mother ate my salad. It's funny when I talk about moments that I can remember of getting angry. It's often related to food. The breakup with my ex was because of badly cooked couscous. She made badly cooked couscous. That angered me. And then my reaction angered her even more, and she went batshit crazy. But so the way I deal with my anger is just like pushing it in and bouncing it in my head, going crazy. So I thought when my mother ate my salad, which I prepared for myself with love and passion, and I was really looking forward to eating it, she ate it, she didn't know. I thought, hey, I have a punching bag right here. Let me try something. Instead of bouncing, which it's not the solution. The solution is stepping outside of yourself and making that a habit until you actually can do it naturally and well, and you don't immediately just go crazy when you get angry. But I thought, instead of for the next hour and even recurring afterwards, bouncing and overthinking and arguing in my head, I'll just hit the punching bag as hard as I can, which I did. I came into my room, closed the door, I didn't put on the gloves, and I didn't take my time, and I hit it as hard as I could for 30 seconds. And I threw a hook with my right pretty early on, and I felt just the form wasn't good. I fucked up my whole arm, and I kept hitting. And the result of that is that my wrist now feels fine, my shoulder feels almost fine, and my elbow feels not so good. So I fucked up my right arm. And tomorrow we're supposed to go, not climbing, bouldering, and that's not going to be fun if I'm still in pain. So for a moment I thought, I got it. I'm just going to release the anger there and there, then and there. There and then and there, who cares? I'll release it now instead of letting it fester in my mind. I suppose I could have done it with more control and not hurt myself. But I think You Are Traffic is the answer. This episode may be called You Are Traffic. Another point was on watching myself. Let's see. So I watch myself to assess my performance. And when I'm making these videos, I am regurgitating information which I've learned and collected in different places. Sometimes from experience, and sometimes from the internet, from books. And so this is me regurgitating information. And on YouTube, when I watch YouTube videos, I'm watching other people regurgitate information. Right? So what I've done is I have this plugin that I turn off all the time because I'm weak. But it's supposed to black out YouTube. So I can't, when I go on the homepage, there's nothing. If I search for a video, it will appear. But the recommendations, the rabbit hole that is YouTube trying to keep me in is being, there's a word. It's being turned off, essentially. It's cut off. And so when I click on YouTube, it goes straight to my own page. And I've mentioned that before, the idea of how funny would it be if you go on YouTube, you get these recommendations and they shape who you are in a way. You shape your algorithm and it shapes you. Depends, I suppose it depends how much control you have over yourself in terms of, are you going to watch stuff that is useful, or are you going to let YouTube guide you sometimes towards stuff that isn't useful? And the way we consume YouTube is not healthy anyways. You watch hours of content. You don't learn anything that way. It all becomes entertainment at the end of the day. But I watch my videos to assess my performance, and sometimes I feel like I learn things when I watch them, because a lot of what I say here is improvised. So I listen and I think, that's interesting. And sometimes the person on the screen is a teacher, quote unquote. Sometimes I am the teacher and I look at it and I think, that's not good. Especially, for example, just my delivery is something that I still need to work on very much. So every time I watch the video, as I am assessing it, I'm thinking of ways to make it better. But the point I was trying to make is, I might as well watch myself regurgitate information as opposed to watch someone else. If that makes sense. because I get to, one, assess my performance, see if I've actually understood the things I'm talking about, and two, I do get to hear that information again, try to solidify it in my mind. And it's like creating this kind of circle jerk of just myself, listening to myself. But I feel like it can result in me reinforcing these ideas in my mind and not getting sidetracked. I mean, there's about 30 videos I think I've made, so there isn't as much content as the entirety of the YouTube space. But I'm not very good at cutting off YouTube. I think perhaps, actually I'm pretty sure that my approach is unhealthy, because the approach was cutting it off completely. And that's not a good idea. When you do that, immediately you relapse, so to speak. When you ban something, you want it even more. So I should allow myself to indulge sometimes, which I've just realized now. I need to indulge a little bit. And I do learn from YouTube. I found a YouTuber, a woman, looks Asian, who was sharing very interesting information that I will regurgitate right now. But before that, another video which I found on YouTube, which was very useful and interesting, was a bunch of tips to decrease your screen time on your phone, to spend less time on your phone. And I've watched a bunch of these videos. There are apps, all sorts of things meant to help you limit the amount of time you spend on your phone. And the first thing, well, I learned one thing of the tips the person gave me, which I feel was very useful and very simple and effective. My brother and I, we talk a lot about books, especially analytical books, not books about, not fiction stories and things of that nature. Self-help books. He talks about his books, about his philosophy books on architecture, and how, especially self-help books, they can be really boiled down to a few pages. They are much too long. But there are all these anecdotes, and they're trying to reinforce these ideas. And in his philosophy books, he feels like they go on and on about the same things, and it's not concise, right? Really, you read a book, a self-help book, you read How to Influence People and Make Friends. I read that book. You only take away a few things from that book. You read 200 pages, only a few chapters you'll be able to keep with you, and only a few ideas you'll be able to apply at the end of the day. So, through consuming all these videos about how to limit screen time, I didn't get much, but on that video, finally I did get something that I was able to apply, and that made a difference immediately. And that is turning your phone into black and white. And it's such a simple idea. Before doing it, when I used to think about this idea of limiting your screen time, I would always tell myself, what is my phone for? Now, it's a phone, it's a smartphone, but it's a phone. It's to communicate with people. Phone, text, things of that nature. So it's a communication tool. That's what it's primarily for. And because it's a smartphone, and I'm so fortunate to be alive in the 21st century, I have access to all the information on the internet through that phone, if I need. So I told myself, these are the reasons I need this phone. And you can take pictures too. But these are there's a flashlight. The three main reasons is: number one, to communicate; number two, to find information. It's information. The internet, Google Maps, to travel, things of that nature, and you can take pictures. That's what it's for. So how do I spend so much time on my phone? The other things are not, they're not necessary. Even the information part, nothing is necessary about the phone, but they're not important. They're not valuable. And so through this use, through this simple change, making it black and white, immediately it becomes less appealing. It's, you feel it immediately. You look at the phone, it's black and white. The outside world is in color. Immediately the phone loses some of its appeal. And after a few days of that, I deleted my chess app, chess.com. I knew for a long time that I was indulging in this app. I wasn't learning anymore. I wasn't improving. It was robotic. I was starting 100 daily games and just going back to it anytime I felt bored. At work, I used to do it at work, which is not cool. And I was just using it as a form of escapism. I wasn't actually becoming better. And when I turned the phone black and white, it became so much easier to accept and act on the idea that I needed to get rid of it. So I did. I deleted the app. That's one of the main things. These things go... It's not just the app. The app, chess.com, is a reason for me to be checking my phone regularly for, oh, this guy's played. There's 100 games. I used to start 100 games. So I get 100 notifications hourly. So that was an excuse and the thing pulling me back towards my phone. Just always checking, oh, is it my turn to play? Is it my turn to play? Which pulls me back into the phone, which facilitates me doing other things on the phone, right? So deleting that made a huge difference. My screen time is down 50%. Because now I just use my phone to communicate or when I need to find information. I don't browse on YouTube on it. So I feel like that's a very useful tip. A lot of people, I deleted Instagram a few weeks ago, so I know a lot of people feel like they need Instagram and they use it often. I use it on my laptop if I need to. And there are obviously people out there who do use their phone professionally and who do need to go on Instagram and think. And so that idea might not be useful, because once you turn your phone black and white, it becomes purely practical. Communication and finding information, which is what I want my phone to be. So another thing, I like to listen to Chris D'Elia's podcast. I find him funny. I don't laugh that much, but I like the way he thinks. He's a weird guy. And in a recent episode which I listened to, he mentions how music in the 70s was shit, basically. Music in the 70s was bad. It sounded bad. The recording equipment wasn't as good as today's, so the sound is not as crisp. And he mocks the Beatles, Yellow Submarine, saying he doesn't like it. He mocks Bob Marley and reggae. He's done that before, which I find very funny. And I thought to myself, something I've said before many times, something I said to Ty, I couldn't be with you if you didn't appreciate music and a variety of music. My ex, for example, didn't really have music tastes. And that is difficult. If you are someone who really loves music, people who don't connect, that can be difficult. And I thought to myself, Chris D'Elia doesn't love music in the way that I do and the type of music that I like. And he's just not that passionate about music. And he outright mocks the music I love the most. And I thought, I still find him very appealing. I find the fact that he's so funny when he mocks something I'm passionate about, I find that even more attractive, so to speak. And I came to the conclusion that the idea of maybe being indifferent to something that I like is unattractive. But the idea of owning the fact that you dislike something that I like, owning that is attractive. Just a theory. You know, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Indifference hurts much more. And even someone mentioning that they might not like something I like, for example, music, it's like there's a disconnect to a degree. But the idea of someone almost passionately disliking it and owning the fact that they do dislike it, there's something attractive about that. I suppose it just comes down to owning who you are. Knowing what you don't like, knowing why. Also something that I believe wholeheartedly and have for a long time. I mentioned previously that I believe the highest form of art is humor, comedy. Not necessarily a comedy movie, not necessarily a comedian, just when art is able to be funny. And great art being funny isn't a simple thing. It's not as simple as a comedian making a joke. To me, the art that I appreciate the most and I find to be of the highest value, there's something inherently funny about it. I know it's a weird idea, but I don't like anything that I can't find funny in a way. And I believe if you're creative enough, anything can be looked at as funny. A great comedian is able to... A person falling is always funny, right? But that's really the lowest form of humor, which is in a way the highest form. But being able to make something that doesn't seem funny is a true form of mastery, I think. And Buddhists use humor a lot. Recently, I was watching a video on what discipline is, and the man mentions a story of monks who are taught to meditate, and they meet up in the morning in this hall to meditate. But there's a cat in the monastery, and the cat is moving around, bothering them essentially. He's going around the people, trying to meditate, and he's rubbing himself against them, making noises. And so the master tells them, before we meditate, you put a bucket on the cat, which is pretty dark. It's pretty dark, I think. It's pretty mean to do. But that's beyond the point. Before you start to meditate, you cover the cat so that he won't bother us for the meditation. So every morning the students do that. New students arrive and they are taught, before we meditate, we cover the cat, put a lid on him. Eventually the master dies, and the students continue to do that. And then eventually the cat dies. And when the cat dies, the students start to panic, more so than when the master died. They don't know what to do now. There's no cat. How do we meditate if we haven't fulfilled this first task, which sets up the meditation now of covering the cat? And the solution to this, is it called a koan or something? A Zen thing? Whatever. They have many of these. The solution is, we need to find another cat. Now that's a joke. That's very funny. But there is wisdom in the joke. And monks, I believe Buddhist monks, a lot of the way they communicate their philosophy is through these sort of cryptic jokes, essentially. There's another one. I think they're called koan. I don't want to check. Sudoku? Is that something else? These 3-line jokes, essentially. One I remember is, well, I don't remember it. I'm going to paraphrase. Meet a Zen master on the side of a road. Don't greet him. I'll look it up, actually, because I don't need to be that uninformative. I can at least get that right. No, it can't be that one. What the fuck? Okay, that's interesting, but that's not what I'm looking for. Fuck. Keep saying kill the Buddha. I'm sure that's not the one. Wait, does the thing not exist? Did I just... Yeah, it's a Zen cone. Did I just make something up? Oh, it's when I was looking up nihilism that I found this thing. It keeps coming up with, when you meet the Buddha, kill him. I mean, these are hilarious. I can't find it, which is worrying. Oh, fuck it. It's something that sounds like, it's something like, meet a guy on the side of meet a monk on the side of the street, greet him not with words or with a salute or something, punch him in the face, then you will know the meaning of Zen. It's a very incomprehensible, irreverent joke. To me, I find it funny because I don't get it. What I'm trying to say is that these Zen codes, there's a lot of humor in them, and these ideas. You think, even the way they are portrayed in popular culture, usually they are the master, the very wise, white-bearded old guy who doesn't partake in any sinful activity, who has transcended. He's always making jokes. So the point I was trying to make is that beyond the fact that my belief is that humor is the ultimate form of art, I believe that looking at life in general through a humoristic lens is the ultimate way to live your life. If you're able to remove yourself from any situation, there's always something funny about it. For example, the fucking salad thing. If I had told myself, you are traffic, stepped back and thought, whoa, did you just get mad to the point of hurting your right arm by punching the punching bag because your mother ate your salad? Because you had made a big salad yesterday, aiming to eat the second half today, and she ate it, and now you're upset because you're going to have to make another salad and waste 10 minutes. Now you're upset because of this, because of that. Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that super funny? I love saying that my girlfriend and I, my ex, broke up because she made me couscous badly with lukewarm water, and so it wasn't warm or cooked, and there was water in the couscous. That's hilarious. The fact that she served me that fucking dish says a lot about the relationship, and it's hilarious that that's what did it. I think that's funny. So that's something I believe wholeheartedly, that humor really is the solution. That once you are able to remove yourself from situations and not react emotionally immediately, not react with your most basic instincts, it's funny. I'd like to be able to look at the world that way naturally. Oh, something that's funny. I got my grades from uni. I called my university. They advised me to email the part of the university that deals with student results, which I did. Then they were trying to sell me the diploma, the physical thing, which I don't give a shit about. Then they were trying to make me fill up a survey or a form, a three-page form, and something else. Eventually, they just sent me my grade. And my grade is shit. I didn't get a good grade at uni. My thought was, once I leave uni, I'll never have to go back. I don't care about anything, really. I didn't really care about graduating. Although it would have felt bad if I didn't, after spending 4 years there. But I did get my grade, I did get my diploma, but I got a third. A third is like a D, maybe, or something. It's not good. You need a second to go to do your master's, which I never thought I would want to, but now I do. So isn't that funny? 2 years down the line, here I am. I didn't even know what grade I got, and now I find out I got a third. So well done, past me. You shot me in the foot 2 years ago. 3, 4, 5. Another video I watched on YouTube, because it's not all trash. I found this YouTuber who talks about films, and I like the way he talks about films. He's concise, he's somewhat funny. The videos are very watchable. And I like his ideas. I'm mentioning these people, and I don't know what their names are, so that's a shame. I'm sure I'll mention them in the next episode, and I'll be able to name them. He talks about how dialogue can be broken into two. So you see right now, I'm regurgitating information. The best way to learn is to teach. So I'm trying to see if I understood his ideas by regurgitating them. And maybe putting my own spin if I feel like improvising somewhere with my own ideas. And I'm saying that to me, which is useless because I know that. Yo!
C'est quoi le nom de la pizzeria qui est bonne?
Oh. Let's see. I thought you were... Where are we at?
On n'a pas encore commencé la main card.
It's not the main card yet, okay.
Tu voudrais un épisode, hein?
Ouais? Tu me la payes?
Non.
Tu me l'offres? Non?
Non. Non.
Yeah? No? You don't do that? What's happening? Oh, I'm offline. I think it's in Ballum. Wait.
Non, mais faut me trouver le nom et tu m'envoies sur Instagram ou WhatsApp.
Stay here and be patient. Please.
Non, mais j'attends le...
T'attends quoi?
les résultats d'une fight.
Bro! The results. Fuck off! I'm not sending you a message while I'm doing this. I'm working here. I'm doing something. Yeah, fuck him. Can I just... Delivery, just fuck off. Okay, so that it's not entirely incomprehensible and boring. He asked me for a pizza place, which I... Is that the one? Which I said is good on Deliveroo. And how does this thing work? Orders? How am I gonna find it? Is it Bagel King in Streatham? No, that's Jamaican food. Is it San Marino Pizza? I have no clue, so I'm just gonna say that it is. Wait a minute. Is that an 18 pounds pizza? That's preposterous. I'm just gonna say it's this one. Which was... Has to be this one. Doesn't have to be this one. It's probably another one. San Marino Pizza. Oh, I have to get up. Be back. San Marino Pizza.
San Marino?
San S-A-N Marino. M-A-R-I-N-O. Margarita, boy.
Just margarita.
I'll give you the money back. What?
You want a tiramisu?
No.
Il y a des bons tiramisu non là-bas?
Ouais. But it's expensive, man.
De quoi?
Genre 16 pounds, je crois.
De quoi?
La pizza.
La pizza à la 16
Elle est bonne.
Ok, bah nice. De toute façon, tu te la payes.
San Marino. I'll pay you back. Just
Et est-ce
buy
que
the
tu veux
pizza.
un tiramisu ou pas?
Sure, I'll get a tiramisu. Wow, I just spent money I don't have on pizza. Tonight is fight night. Tonight is UFC 294. If you like fights, you're excited as well. Practical versus analytical. He breaks down dialogue. He's talking about movies, but the point he makes is that that's just how dialogue works in general. Practical versus analytical. Practical, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Practical is talking about things that happened, things that are happening, and things that will happen. It's about the real world. The best example of a practical conversation is small talk. It's talking about the weather. That's practical. I mentioned how I'm very bad at practical talk and just practicality in general. I'm much more analytical. I live in my head. And so on one hand, it was very interesting how he breaks it down, how if a person is overly practical in a movie, you can use that tool basically. Think to yourself, I'm going to make this guy talk only practically. It's easy to make them look stupid. And the reverse, it's easy to make someone who's overly analytical look very smart or look crazy. And what now?
C'est quoi tes détails, désolé, tes détails Deliveroo?
What do you mean? Why?
Comme, toi t'as Deliveroo Plus, comme ça je paye pas pour la delivery.
How much is the delivery?
Je sais pas, d'habitude c'est genre 5 pounds une delivery.
Bro, you can't afford £5 delivery, man.
Bah quand tu payes chaque mois pour ne pas payer, autant...
I don't know, you find it. Take my phone.
On va juste prendre un trait à ton téléphone.
Sure, I don't know if I got the money on my account for...
Ouais, mais
That
genre, je
much.
prends ma carte.
Oh yeah, do your thing. Well done. He mentions how these, breaking it down into 2 different categories, you can affect how a person comes off. Now, it's a spectrum. Every person is a bit of both. Every character in a movie is a bit of both. And a person being overly practical doesn't make them stupid automatically at all. A person who's not analytical is just a person maybe who doesn't speak a lot, who's not willing to engage in philosophical conversations. Doesn't make them stupid. But if you use that tool, you can easily think to yourself, okay, I'm writing this guy who's stupid. He's going to speak practically. And obviously a person who's being analytical and is stupid, you can be stupid and be analytical. It just sounds stupid. Maybe that's how I come off, for example. This podcast is partly analytical, I'd say. Partly me just wondering about things. And it's highly possible I'm coming off stupid. And also when I'm talking practically. Fuck, you took my phone now. I don't have my notes. I'm fucked. Where was I going with this? I suppose that's it. Practical versus analytical. And so practical is talking about what is, what was, and what will be. The real world, the weather. I'm sitting here on this bed. Analytical is wondering about things, asking questions. Can be philosophical. That type of stuff. And I realized, for example, at work, no one is willing to engage in analytical conversation at work. I'm not saying people are stupid. It's not the time and the place to do that. I wish it was. I don't have a problem with it, with having a more profound conversation. I'm only able to do that with guests, for example, and they're not in the same mind frame as people working there, so they're able to indulge in that. But so I thought to myself, all my colleagues, all the people I work with, the only conversations we have every day are practical. And the people that I talk to more, that I am more friendly with, the only conversations we have are practical. And so I'm wondering, should I step up my game and become more practical? Or is it just not how I'm wired? I just have very little interest in it. I definitely need to become more practical. But how much? Being totally, completely practical is, as some people seem to be, is scary. Okay, I don't have any notes here, but it's my main light, my horror movie front light. And this is the program where I write scripts. Every morning I'm trying to write. The first thing I write is I write what I dreamt about. It becomes easier to remember your dreams when you make it a practice to remember when you wake up. And the images come more naturally when you're writing than when you're just thinking. When I wake up and I try to remember my dreams, I hit a wall usually. When I start writing, even if I'm unsuccessful at first, eventually the dream comes back. So I found it's a good way to start the day. I would like to be able to lucid dream. My thing I've mentioned before, a technique to learn to lucid dream is to check whether you are in the real world regularly. Make it a habit so that potentially when you're sleeping, you'll do the same thing and realize you are in fact dreaming. One thing was the finger through the hand, doing that throughout the day, check, is it in the real world? It is, clearly. Counting your fingers. And I thought it didn't work. And I thought maybe I'll do something that's a bit more personal. So taking my glasses off. Don't know if it's a good idea. Maybe when I take my glasses off in a dream, I'm still blind. But that's the thing I do now. I take my glasses off. Okay, the world is blurry when I take them off. It means I'm in the real world. And hoping it will translate into learning to lucid dream. Another thing is you write your dreams to make yourself remember them. It's supposed to gain to gain a control over your subconscious when you're sleeping. So I wake up, I write my dreams. I do 20 minutes in the morning, put a timer on, I write my dreams, and then after that I write what might be considered a gratitude journal. I write things I'm grateful about. So I do in the morning. 2 things that have become clear to me. So, I mentioned that last week. I hope it hasn't been 2 weeks. Last week I talked about this idea of the high value man. I'm starting to feel like the high value man really isn't the term I should be using. It seems to be more of an aesthetic thing, the high value man, the way people talk about it. Just to be a good man, let's say. No, that's not nice. That's not good. To be... Don't know what the term is, but the things I talked about, these pillars, this foundation of stoicism on one hand, which maybe stoicism is not the right word, but strength is too broad. We'll stick to stoicism for now. The rock, stoicism, then the water, ambition. In the end, it's not even really... Maybe I should just call it what I want to be. Yo!
Excuse, tu peux juste débrayer ton téléphone.
That's okay, bro. Yeah. My code, 058699.
Je savais pas.
Now you know. You know 05869, 05869, le code d'en bas, avec un 9 en plus.
Ouais.
So this guy, who's much smarter than me, anytime I hit a wall with my ideas, I go to him. Anytime I have an idea for a movie, I go to him. And his reaction is always somehow perfect. And it's annoying because when you're a creative person and you have a lot of ideas, 99% of them are shit. But you think they're the shit. So I go to him with an idea and he tells me it's no good, and I persist. And eventually, 2 years later, I realize he was right all along. Which means that sometimes, rarely, when he says it's a good idea, I feel really good about it. And likewise, when I have an idea, for example, this that I was doing, the rock and the water, I ask him and immediately he has the answer. And so, fuck the high value man. I don't know what we'll call it, but the pillars, as I said, it's always in 3s, and that's what he said when I brought him my idea. The rock of stoicism, the water of ambition. I like structuring things and breaking things into pieces. I like deconstructing things, structuring them, and I like visuals to accompany them. So stoicism is the rock, makes sense to me. Water is the ambition, and the thing I was missing is work ethic or discipline. And the 3 go together. It sounds nonsensical what I'm saying now. For the moment, we'll stick to the high value man because I don't know what word to use. To me, a high value man is about these foundational principles. Being strong and having the stoicism, being ambitious, like water, malleable and wanting to having a desire to grow, and then the work ethic, which is the glue, which is the gas, if you're talking about solid, liquid, and gas. Or we'll talk about it like a well. I think that makes sense. You have the water at the bottom of the well being the ambition. You have the rocks, which are the structure of the well, keeping the water in place. And then you have the glue of discipline and work ethic, keeping the rocks together. How to be a well man. How to be a well man will be the title for this episode, and that's now my thing. The high value man is old news. Yesterday's news. The well man is what it's all about. The man of the well. The well man is enough. He's coming back, isn't he? Nope. The well man. That's my new thing. The well man. I want to be the well man. I want to be a well man. A well man. With the water, the rocks, and the glue. And so it's work ethic. And that's the thing I'm missing the most. To become anything, work ethic is required. The repetitions, doing it over and over again, which is why I looked into discipline. Gratitude, I looked into that because I don't remember I didn't mention it last time because I did the episode on Saturday and I go out climbing or bouldering on Sunday. Stefan, our new buddy at the gym, said this during a conversation, just an offhand comment quickly, that I don't know if it's true, but I believe it, and that's good enough for me, that anxiety and gratitude exist in the same part of our brain, therefore they are mutually exclusive, if that's the right way to phrase it, as in they can't coexist. It's either one or the other. Once again, I don't know how factual this is, and I'm not going to check, because it feels right, and I think it's a beautiful idea. I am a very anxious person. Therefore, I am a very ungrateful person. And that lines up to me. Gratitude is something I even have a hard time conceptualizing. It's crazy to think now. I haven't thought about it in depth yet. And I'm doing that now. I've been anxious all my life, which means I've been ungrateful all my life. And I've been told many times of ways I was being ungrateful. And I'm realizing now that I have chosen. It's like the dark side of the force and the light side of the force. I chose the dark side. If you choose the dark side, that's where you are. You're not on the light side. Once you've chosen. And simplifying it in those terms makes it easier to understand what I have to do. So I looked into gratitude. I don't want to be on the dark side. I don't want to be ungrateful and anxious. So how do I become grateful? And one of the things that was advised is to do a gratitude journal, which is what I'm doing in the morning now. I also do this writing exercise because when I wake up in the morning, my mind I'm overthinking immediately. Overthinking about yesterday, about what's going to happen today, and about a bunch of bullshit. And it feels like I'm able to empty and vomit that out on the page, and that's a good way to release it. So gratitude. I will practice what I find to ideally increase gratitude, and I will return next week with my findings. The lady I mentioned, the Asian lady, who has an interesting aura, an interesting vibe, very wise. Saw her videos on YouTube. I think I watched 2 or 3. She talks about She talks about interesting subjects that all fall under the umbrella of self-help, self-improvement, and the thing that I got, the 2 words that I got out of her wisdom and her videos were personify money. Now, it's a bit like you are the traffic. It's not about money. The point she was making was, we all know, well, I think we all instinctively know, but we don't necessarily know. We can feel it. But we should all know that, putting it into practical terms, if you desire a person, as in you're a man and you want this woman, behaving in a needy way, telling yourself that you'll be happy if you have her, making her feel like you are trying to complete yourself, you're not whole, that energy will only push her away. I do believe that's something people understand. And yes.
Il y a ta pizza. J'ai pris une pizza.
Thank you.
C'était fermé l'endroit que tu nous avais recommandé.
Wonderful.
Ça ouvre à minuit.
Oh, that's why we bought the pizza, because they open at midnight.
J'ai pris un autre endroit qui avait l'air pas mal.
Fine.
T'avais déjà ordre de toi là-bas, donc.
Okay. Thank you. Personify money. So as I was saying, in practical terms, I do believe that most people, if not everyone, whether you've experienced doing it and experienced the failure of that, if you're behaving in a way that suggests to a woman, once again keeping it into that specific scenario, if you're behaving in a way that suggests to a woman that you will be happy if you have her, that you'll be complete if you have her, suggests that you are weak. Essentially, it boils down to that. You are weak. You are unhappy with yourself. You're not complete. And that repels people, right? Behaving in that way. And that can be applied to everything, was the point she was making. What I got out of that is money. But that principle, the law of attraction, I think, I've never read that book. It talks about many different things, but the point is, once you realize that you are enough yourself, and you stop chasing things, then things will be attracted to you. That's what attractiveness is. This sense, first it starts within you, understanding that you are enough, that you have inherent value, that you are enough. You don't need anything else to feel complete. Understanding that makes you attractive. If you are, in a way, at peace with yourself and you're whole, then the world outside feels that. That's the point, right? And I knew that to a degree in terms of relating to people in general. People who are attractive are people who seem like they are complete and who are complete. If they give off this vibe, they are attractive. And I had never thought about applying that to anything else, especially not money. And so I think to myself, I don't have much money. Surely my relationship with money is wrong. And so I came to that conclusion based on her video. What I need to do is personify money. Instead of telling myself, life would be better if I did have money. I would be better. Money would make me happy. Money would do all these things for me. I need to accept that I am enough. The money won't make me happy. That I don't need money. Well, I do, but I don't. And so I went further with that to the idea of personifying money. Another idea that's quite famous is if you're someone who treats themselves badly. You eat junk food, you don't exercise, you don't look after yourself, you don't sleep enough, you do things that are bad for your health, essentially. Look at yourself as if you were someone that you love. As if you were your son even, your progeny, is that the word? Your kid. Would you treat that person the way you treat yourself? Once again, it's about stepping outside of yourself. Would you do that? Would you speak to that person that you love, your kid, the same way you speak to yourself? That's an idea that's been explored many times. One of my favorite is this line from Idols. Don't remember which song it's from. If somebody talked to you the way you do to you, I would put their teeth through. Love yourself! I like that song. It's probably not, no, I don't think it's called Love Yourself. But that's, a very famous idea. I watched a video recently, Dr. Huberman interviewing some guy, and he talks about how he had terrible self-talk in his head. He would just be awful to himself. And that resulted in him having this negative energy impacting people around him for decades. And then his therapist told him, okay, now when you talk to yourself, try to talk to yourself as if you're talking to someone you love, as if you're talking to your kid or your wife or something. And he talks about how that affected him immensely and fixed many things for him. So that's the idea. If money was a person and I was coming from that position of I don't want to repel that person, I want to be attracted to that person, I also don't want to mistreat that person, how would I behave? And I'm stuck on that. Don't have much more to say, to be honest. Well, for example, buying this crap is not the right thing to do with my money. It's a waste. I shouldn't waste my money. I'm treating my money badly by buying this shit. But beyond money, this idea of understanding that you're enough and not having this neediness for things in general, whether that be people, in relationships, or in friendships, money, everything, is a very healthy thing to do. I wish I could do that. Being able to step back. I think I'm done. Oh, my phone is back. Maybe there's more notes. Let's see. Delivery, that's not a note. Personify money. That's about it. That is about it. I had an idea for something different for the next podcast. We'll see if I follow through. I'm wearing different underwear. My mother's husband gave it to me. I think he bought it for himself, but he wasn't happy with it. So he gave them to me. And I sent him a message saying thank you. After that. And that's significant because my thinking, as usual, was to procrastinate. My thinking was, I'll say thank you in person. I prefer doing that. And then I thought to myself, gratitude. I need to say thank you. That's more important. I'll just send him a message. And I did. And that felt good. That felt good in the sense that I need to make it a habit. Gratitude. I need to make it a habit. And it needs to come naturally and quickly. To be honest, I didn't really feel that much gratitude when I received them. I thought, I have my rotation. They're expensive as fuck, and I like them. I thought, when I do the podcast, I wear the same underwear as part of the brand. I just thought a bunch of bullshit. Just ridiculous things. Ungratefulness, immediately. First thing, I don't need this. I have enough pairs of underwear. I don't need more. That was the point. I threw out my old ones. I bought expensive ones that are comfortable. Unclutter the space. Just ungratefulness immediately. Then I realized, shut the fuck up. Try them on. Say thank you. That's easier. It's weird to realize I have this system of ungratefulness inside of me. And it seems like anxiety at first. As I said, I have this quote-unquote rotation of underwear. Enough, the perfect amount, high quality, very nice, very comfortable. I'm used to them. And now I'm anxious. Someone has introduced this thing. I don't want it, is what I think to myself. I have this thing, it works. I don't need any more. I don't need to add. But what do I do now? It's a present. I can't refuse it. Right? So the anxiety hits immediately. And that's funny, by the way. What I'm saying now is funny. Because of how ridiculous it is. And how probably people can connect to it. That's what's funny. Is that I feel like I'm crazy for thinking that way. And then you put something on YouTube and a bunch of people see it. And you realize, oh, you're not so crazy. You're pretty normal, actually. Although, maybe that's not the case on this point. Who knows? But, yeah. Anxiety hits immediately. It's a default anxiety. The default. If gratitude were the default, I would be much happier. And I'll be a much better person. So I'm trying to practice gratitude. Gratitude. Look, I hurt my arm, but it's almost back to normal. Tomorrow I get to go climbing with people I love. Tonight I eat pizza. Tonight is UFC 294. Come on, man. And in a week it's Tyson versus Francis Ngannou. Okay. I realize I make these podcasts and I talk about ideas and stuff. This podcast is my podcast. I talk about whatever I want. And now it's an MMA podcast from this point on. As in for today. UFC 294. I don't see why Usman is the underdog against Chimaev. I don't. The two main events, really funny, the two Brazilians pulled out for different reasons. Now, Volkanovski is the underdog for obvious reasons. But Kamaru Usman is one of the top 10 greatest MMA fighters of all time. He is number 2 at his weight class of all time. He has an incredible resume. He is good everywhere. He's not a great striker. But the fact is, he's so complete that enhances his striking. The takedown threat. He's in incredible shape. He has the experience. He's a vet. This is going to be a 3-round fight. He's fought five before, five for the past 5 or more years. He's a beast. And I was talking to my brother. He thinks Chimaev's going to win and should be the favorite. And I told him I disagree. And I understand there's the 10-day... He stepped in on 10 days notice. A lot of fighters talk about how that can be beneficial. One, you haven't been in camp training intensely and worrying about the fighter for 3-4 months. More like 2-3 months. So you don't have that burden on your shoulders. You're more loose. He doesn't need to cut weight. He usually needs to cut a lot of weight. Maybe he had to cut some weight here, but less, so that's easier. He's fighting at a higher weight class. He's always in shape. What's this? Fuck off. He's one of those fighters that's always in shape. He doesn't get overweight outside of training camp. He's always in shape, so he was ready to fight. He is a very versatile fighter, fighting another very versatile fighter. So it's not like he has to prepare for something specific that he won't be able to do. Sure, it's a specific fighter. Chimaev has his tendencies and things like that. But Usman is one of the most complete fighters we've ever seen. On the other hand, you have Chimaev. The only noteworthy fighter he's beaten is Gilbert Burns. Kamaru beat Gilbert Burns. MMA maths does not work, unlike, once again, something that my brother believes, it doesn't work. Or if he believed it, he would have picked Usman. Usman beat Gilbert quite easily. He got knocked down early on. Was it a full knockdown? I'm not sure, but it was a good strike. And then he TKO'd him with a jab. Gilbert Burns doesn't know what a jab is, but he beat him confidently. Chimaev went to war with him that was pretty close to being a draw. He won, but I don't know. I'm not certain he won, actually. It was really close. That's the only person he's beaten, ever. So, I don't see why people are so high on Chimaev. I hope he beats Usman convincingly. I really hope he's the future, the big deal that people think he is. But I'm going to err on the side of caution. I think it's more likely that Usman beats him. I think that Usman should be the favorite. And then my brother was comparing that fight to Adesanya versus Silva, which to me makes no sense. You can compare them in the sense that Silva is one of the greatest at his division, and he was past his prime when he fought Izzy, and Izzy was the up-and-comer young guy. But Silva had lost multiple fights before that. He wasn't on a losing streak necessarily, I'm not sure, but he had lost multiple fights and had been made to look like he wasn't in his prime anymore. Usman destroyed Leon Edwards for 4.5 rounds. Okay, maybe he lost the first one because of that trip. He was beating him. He was on his way to an easy decision. And then he got head kicked. And then in the second fight, the worst Usman showed up, as he likes to say, and he lost a decision where he didn't look awful, and he looked like fighters don't usually win when coming back from getting knocked out on a rematch. So I don't think these two losses are an indication that he's falling off. I don't believe that. So you can't compare those two fights. And on the other hand, Chimaev is nowhere near as decorated a fighter as Izzy was when he fought Silva. Izzy already had almost 100 fights, if you count kickboxing, against really good top tier kickboxers. So I think Usman should be the favorite. I think it's more likely that he'll win. I hope that Chimaev will win convincingly and that he's a new big deal in the UFC. And then the main event, Islam should be the favorite. He won a relatively close fight in the first one. He won most rounds, but every round was really tight. And Volkanovski is stepping in on 11 days notice. There's the whole rehydration thing. Islam wasn't at his best when they fought. So I think most likely Islam's going to win, but I hope Volkanovski wins. Extremely exciting stuff. I don't know if... Yeah, I'll talk about Fury and Ngannou next week. Yeah, exciting stuff. Super exciting stuff. Chimaev's fighting. It's crazy exciting because if Usman wins, he fights for the title against Strickland, whom he beat. Now Strickland is better now, but I'm still going to pick Usman. And so he potentially can become a two division champion. And I think he could stay there confidently at 185. And if Chimaev wins convincingly, hopefully, then he becomes one of the... Unless Usman looks like he wasn't ready for the fight. If he looks out of shape, timing off, something like that, then it won't look that good. But if we get a good Usman and Chimaev beats him convincingly, then Chimaev is the real deal. And that's exciting. A new face. Because at the moment, Chimaev is all hype. Whatever people want to say, he's only beaten Gilbert Burns. Right. I'm hungry. My throat is dry. Thank you. Wish you the best. And thank you.